So we're going to do our recap. Everybody find a seat. Louise, are you ready? Well, just come up, Louise, whenever you're ready. We'll save room for you. So, what'd you think? Good? Okay. You're still awake. That's good. That doesn't always happen. So I'm asking our panelists and our presenters, just want to first thank you for that and give them a round of applause. I know we asked a lot out of them to do this kind of thing, and I think they delivered, it sounds like. So I've just asked them to give one takeaway, or in Louise's case, just a quick report out. But Noah, if you want to go first, what you got out of this, or what you thought you saw in your group?
Sure. So I think a couple of the things. One, it was really interesting to see, in general, like the enthusiasm with which everyone went about doing this. So thank you. It definitely helped keep me awake after that steak lunch. So, and then the other thing I think I would say, it was really interesting just looking, like peering over the shoulders of people as they were creating their personas. Some of the creativity that people really used in fleshing them out and kind of like creating these little images of users that were so fully functional and everything. So that was really cool to see.
Sonia, real quick.
Sure. So thank you so much for pivoting with us. We changed a lot of our workshop as we went throughout because we saw that like things weren't working or things weren't working as we were expecting. And so at the beginning we had like one volunteer, and then at the end everyone was participating in usability testing, and it was really cool to see people jumping into it and talking and being very honest, especially since we were testing a tool, especially for the group that was testing the tool where the person was actually in the session. There was a lot of honesty about what was working and what wasn't working, so that was really awesome. Thank you.
Louise, give you a minute, and then we'll...
Okay, we actually did a little bit of analysis, and since everybody's done it, you'll know what this means. For the first choice features, custom geography selection was number 1. Viewing indicators by category was number 2. And print template was number 3. And for the least favored features, export CSV, and responsive design, and print template, which is kind of interesting. And we haven't analyzed those by persona, but I don't think, I mean, our first couple people didn't even know what personas were, and we kind of gave them canned personas, and it was like, imagine that you're these people, but once they had personas, they tried to use them.
And I would just say it's okay to make things up with this stuff. There are a lot of resources that we're going to add to the session notes. I just have not gotten there yet, but I promise I will. I'll put up a lot of the worksheets and things that we did around the personas as well. But there is no right way or wrong way to do this. It's always great to just test it out on an audience and then just roll with it if it works for you. Now we'll throw it out to you. We've got some mics in the crowd, and we'd just like to know what you thought about today's activities. Would you use it? What do you want to take back home with you? Anybody?
I want CSV export capability. I think it's feature number 1. No. This was super relevant and timely for me because we're in the process of building another tool for another very specific intended audience. So we'll be tangentially not leading, but participating in this type of exercise for that tool. So I'm very happy that you did this today.
Yeah, so this is kind of not my question. It was a question that we had over here. We were discussing, it made me think about it. This is the usability sort of process and the thinking of the personas is all really helpful, and thinking about how we would redesign a site or do upgrades. But it seems like it might be costly, time-consuming. I mean, is there any ideas on how to make this something that you could incorporate into, maybe just feedback on a website, or mechanisms for making it, something that you don't have to outsource some?
I can answer that.
Yeah.
Having done it, we didn't have the money to do usability testing, but I had worked at Microsoft and first saw usability testing and saw how valuable it was for what we were creating. So I actually trained members of our steering committee and members of our staff in public health to do it with family and friends. And basically, you're just sitting right next to a person, and they're instructed to find certain things. So we had 3 tasks, and they're making note, and people are verbalizing as they're doing it. And we changed our website, which had just been designed, but hadn't been launched yet, based on that usability testing. It really cost nothing for us to do it, and it made it much, much better. And then the second thing is with card sorting, don't do it this way. We used OptumSort, which is a program, and I don't actually know how much it cost, but it wasn't. There are lots of these programs, and it can do the analysis for you. We put out a notice on our website and any other way we could, asking people to participate, and we had like 143 people participate, which gave us a lot of data. So that was, and it didn't take the time that assembling these cards and stuff did. So both of those are cheap and easy.
Yeah, and I can also add from the D3 side. So there is an opportunity cost to not doing this sort of activity as well. So a couple years ago, we redesigned our website, and it was beautiful and looked great and was wonderful from a data person's perspective, but we didn't do any usability testing on it, and we've spent the past 2 years hearing from people, oh, we love your website, it looks great, we can't use it. So what we're now doing is actually going through a process of redesigning our website again, but then there's all of that additional staff time that we're investing in building that out, so that's another opportunity to cost to consider in investing the time in doing the user testing up front.
I would just add too that you can do a lot of this in-house, and being the people so close to the project, or actually being part of building whatever you're doing, a tool, a website, whatever it is, doing stuff like usability testing and seeing that pain firsthand that your users might be experiencing is not only cost effective, but it's also a good way to really prioritize change.
Yeah, and you can even build this into your processes too. Like, do a training workshop for a website that you like. See what people think. Just sit in the room and say, we're going to train you how to use this tool. Watch them do it. They'll experience pain, or they'll just think it's great, and you'll be able to get that direct, immediate feedback. I think like forums and tell us your comments. If they think it sucks, they're not going to leave a comment. They're just going to click away and do something else. You have to do this if you're going to go all in.
I wanted to add, when we were doing user testing on our elevation map by neighborhood map right after Katrina, I pulled up the map in the business center at the La Quinta Inn, and there were a bunch of people standing around me, and they started shrieking. Because Joy's first design for elevation, she used a blue color palette, and and the people in the room thought it was reflecting actual flooding. And so that was fabulous feedback. I wouldn't have caught it because I knew too much. So I gave her that feedback, change the color to anything other than blue. And so that's why it looks like an ugly piece of meat, because you just picked this red that was not blue. So it pays off, and it took 30 seconds to get that feedback.
And for things like usability testing, you probably have relationships with a lot of your users, and so you already know where they're at. So like having to invite them to come to a place, that's great if you're not already connected, but think about the networks that you're already in, and if you have opportunities to get feedback when you're with those people.
And the persona thing, people will just identify themselves as who they really are. They don't have to pretend to be, a hospital worker. They actually are, and that all gets sorted out.
First, I want to say thanks for the people who organized this. This is why I come to conferences, for the engaging types of activities that make you think in different ways with people who you're with. I know it's really hard as an educator to organize these things, and I certainly get the sense that this looked the way it did today because different people were bringing different stages together. Some of this came from Smart Chicago, the personas. Bob, that's from Pittsburgh, and other things. Is that right?
All over the place, yeah. Noah.
So, So it's, I know the hard work it is to sort of like pull together a jigsaw exercise with different instructors with different resources. So thank you for doing that. My other thing I'm thrilled about is, right afterwards I asked Sonia, says, are there any resources like you've shared with us that I can take home with me? And she pointed out, because I didn't look at the top of the page, there's 2 bit.ly links up there, which has your materials, which is great, the Google Slides, and a number of other resources for UX testing. And then my question, I guess, was the personas and things like that. Is that, a lot of these were handwritten, but were they, Bob, were you pulling those together, and are those kinds of things available elsewhere, or are there sources?
Noah put the template together, and then Liz and Steve from our shop really had a great time putting those together. All I really did was put a couple of pictures to them. But yeah, you can just sit down and maybe envision somebody that you work with, or interview people that, like, maybe librarians are a key audience of yours. And so we have a librarian, and we talk to her a lot. And so, like, that kind of went into some of the personas that we do.
What I'm asking is the personas that were written out, do those exist anywhere that are easily shareable?
Yeah, we're going to put those are in a Google Doc. We're going to put all the resources online. So they're going to be part of the session notes. I just did not honestly get there yet.
That could be a camp session.
Yeah.
One format feedback we would like to get to is that there was some debate about whether to do 4 and do shorter ones, get more exposure to more things quickly, or you could have actually spent a whole hour and the whole hour and a half just on user testing or just on personas. So when we ask you to fill out your evaluation, you can give you feedback anytime now to the staff, but when you fill out the evaluation, if you want to give your 2 cents on that, that would be helpful for using this format for other types of learning.
I have a small question based on the exercise that a wonderful exercise that we just did. And this is something that we have come across on a daily basis. Like, our users are very different. There's an entire spectrum from 0 to infinity of how people consume our data. And while doing this exercise and kind of identifying the sweet spot through user testing, it looks like we won't be able to accommodate the entire spectrum of our users' needs with one website. Because some of them might need CSVs who are kind of a more technical side. Some of them put more priority on PDFs and graphics and infographics, actually. So my question is there any example that you all have come across? Like, should there be like a simple mode and expert mode, or should there be a way to filter a user beforehand, the right, on the first page when they land, should we filter them? Do you want to go to the expert mode, or do you want to stay with the simple mode, or things like that? I mean, are there any examples that people have done?
Yeah, we just redesigned our website, so we hired a consultant to help us with that process, and he looked at other websites, and New York City's open data page had a front door for beginners and a front door for experts. And so on our website, we've designed it like the FAQ pages for each of those are there. So that was one of the biggest recommendations we got from talking to our users and doing the interviews. I'm a beginner, but it seems like there's no front door for me. The experts said, oh yeah, I can navigate this pretty well, but that all came from user interviews and looking at other websites through this process that we engaged with that used several different user-centered design practices. So yeah, there are examples, and one of the things that you should do is really look at other products that are out there and try them out and put them in front of your users and talk about them.
We also, we have 3 different websites, and when we go out and talk to users, the community users really want some interpretation. People who are experts don't necessarily need it, and so we're now trying to direct people to one of the 3 websites, Communities Count, if they want interpretation, because that's very labor intensive on our part to provide, a new interpretation every time we do an analysis. And so we have to kind of triage that.
That's it? Yeah, we're wrapped up. So thank you, everybody, and thank you, presenters. And look for the notes in the session notes. I'll get those together. And thanks to all of you for participating and joining in and jumping in with both feet. I appreciate that. And
Hello. It's camp time. Yeah. Okay, so at 3 o'clock, we're going to have our first camp session. Thank you guys all for voting and proposing ideas. The schedule is in the YAP, plug for the YAP, where you can look